it really interesting looking at this idea that a clear deadline helps to inspire action. So there is something called Parkinson's law, which you may or may not be aware of. It's actually a concept or a theory that was around since 1955. So I found some stuff in the Economist archives if you have someone who wants to go research more. So the idea of Parkinson's law is that the amount of time we set aside for a task will be filled to fill the time available for completion. Now, I think this is a really interesting thing for someone with ADHD to talk about, because people with ADHD struggle with decisions, they struggle with procrastination, they struggle to complete tasks. But when they have a deadline, and usually it's at the last minute, they have a tremendous ability to get things done. So I know for my own dissertation, I would think that I was on board with the task, I would plan things, I would feel organized. But when things got to the last moment, I always produced the best work. I remember being in tears looking at my computer screen thinking, why can't I write? Why can't I write? And then 3 days before a deadline, I'd feel I had this sudden burst of inspiration and I'd be able to produce a brilliant paper and get a high grade for it. So I think it's interesting, this idea of Parkinson's law and the idea of deadlines. I have this graphic as well, if you can see it, which talks a little bit more about Parkinson's law. You can actually get that from Xboards if you like. And if you look at the graphic, you can see that actually our tasks fill the time that we give them. So for example, if you were going to go and post a letter, and perhaps you are an older member of the public who isn't working, and you maybe want to go and find the right card, you've maybe forgot your glasses, you need to find your glasses first. It might take you an hour to go and post a letter. If you are somebody who is a very busy business person who needs to just get it done, you might just take it straight to the post office and do it, and it might take you 3 minutes. So it just depends on your personal circumstances, what's going on for you, what your values are, what your priorities are. So many things go into the concept of time. But Parkinson's law, to me, I just find it really interesting because I'd never really thought about it before. And actually, time does get filled. And what I love to say is I'm going to be giving myself shorter deadlines for things to get things done. And also, I feel that I will be happier to just... I use the Pomodoro timer. If you haven't heard of that, it's worth doing. But you know, you can do so much in 45 minutes if you just focus your time. I love Steve saying, what would Kobe do? And it's true, Paul, as well, that, you know, I've always thrived studying at the last minute, doing slides, learning, sending assignments in at the last minute. That is just the way I process, but some people are so organized, and I really respect those people because they're so different to me. So when we look at decisions, we can limit unnecessary choice. So it's important to think as well, what is the criteria for your decision making? Are you making decisions based on costs? Are you basing them on rewards? For instance, how much you get paid? Are you more invested in the value of your working relationship or the quality of your working relationship? Are you more invested in your quality service? This was a really interesting thing that came up for me the other day in my own business. I know we really like to talk about our own journeys. And, you know, if anyone's interested in becoming a guest presenter, we're looking for guest presenters, but you're able to turn up and just talk about whatever's going on for you and whatever topic you want. And one of the things that I've been struggling with is, you know, I've been increasing my pricing and changing some things in my business to be more efficient and more productive. And one of the things I realized when chatting to some of my colleagues the other day is we had a bit of a clash on customer service versus output and time. And we had to kind of talk through that. But it was really interesting to think, well, what is the criteria for this decision? And actually, are we over-delivering in this instance? Or are we doing the right thing for our clients? So I think it's really important to think about what's important to you and your values, because they will inform how you make your decisions. It's a tool that I absolutely love because I promised you that there are techniques I'll share with you. So top tip, you can get an editable version of this online from a website called EdrawSoft. And if you search for impact effort matrix templates, you'll get some. So there is a very colourful version like the one on the screen, or there's a more muted version if you prefer something more simple. But the idea of an impact effort matrix helps you to look at things in your life and in your business or in your world, anything you're doing day to day, where you can help to reduce your decisions and be more focused. So for instance, what are the quick wins in your life that you can do to tackle a situation, to fix something? What are the major projects you could do? What are the thankless tasks? The things that are low impact, but they take high effort for you? What are the fill-in jobs that you can do? One of the things that I've started to do recently is actually delegate better. Things that maybe I'm doing, but I don't need to be doing, like shredding paperwork or filing or sorting through things or going to, get keys cut when actually I can delegate those tasks. So to me, this is a really helpful tool, and I love to just do a matrix and draw it. And there's so many different time management techniques that you can look at. But I love the impact effort matrix, and I would highly recommend creating your own version of it. I wanted to share something that my friend Denise taught me. In fact, Tony Fiani, our fellow presenter, was in the same room when we looked at this, because we had a great strategy day and we did this together. But when I used to look at projects, so projects in my business that I would be taking on to deliver, I used to go, okay, great, we'll do this project and then I'll just split this money with everybody and it'll be fine. And what I didn't realize is the time and the effort and the contribution wasn't always fair or appropriate. So I wanted to give and to collaborate, but I wasn't always honoring myself or my business in a way that would make my business last long term. So a big shout out to Ifiani and to Denise for being such supportive friends and having some really clear chats with me about where I could improve things. But when I looked at this concept of a matrix to help me, so if you have, for instance, project A, project B, project C, when you're looking at your project, you could have so many different project factors, but it could be something like the location, the time, the reward, the enjoyment, and the opportunity cost. So I actually used this myself the other day. So I was contacted by a lovely school that wanted me to go and do some podcast training for them. And it was a 6-week program, and they wanted me to teach for 90 minutes. And I was so excited, but when I looked at it, it was a 3-hour round trip to get there. And it just didn't make sense because I would be taking so much time away from my business, from something I love, but actually the reward didn't match. I would enjoy the work, so I would take highly on the enjoyment factor. But to get there would be so difficult, and the time involved, because when I do public speaking or when I talk, I have to actually prepare the material, I have to practice my slides, I have to feel ready to do that delivery. And so I need to factor in time for the preparation. So for 6 weeks, you're looking at 6 full days of time, even for a 90-minute slot, in terms of travel and preparation. And yes, there would be the enjoyment, but the opportunity cost of what I could be doing in my business, I could be building passive income streams, I could be running events, I could be training, I could be doing so many things, I could be helping people to produce their podcasts. So I actually said no to that opportunity. And that was one of the first times for me where I felt, wow, this was the right decision for me, and I'm really proud of how I did that. But in the past, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would have just gone, oh great, there's this fabulous opportunity, I must say yes. And what I've realized is actually we are given choices and options in our businesses, in our life. So everything that comes to you doesn't mean you have to do it, but the act of not tackling them means that we're not actually making decisions. So by looking at something and going, well, does this match my values? Is this the strategic way that I want to run my business? Is this what I want to do? It can be really helpful. So I would really encourage you to look at making a matrix. I know I've got a family member who's recently relocated and they weren't sure where they wanted to live or what they should do or who they should live with or what jobs they wanted to go for. And they did a similar thing and they found it really helpful. So it can sometimes just help to get all of your thoughts clear on what matters most to you. I do want to say that with decisions, as I mentioned, I love to collaborate. I think it's so helpful, but collaboration is helpful until someone has to make a final decision. We do need to take a decision at some point. You can't always please everyone. We see this with our politicians, you know, with our business leaders. There will always be decisions that might upset somebody. And this is why I really encourage you, whether you're in an organization, whether you're in your own business, whether you're a mom or a family member trying to organize things in your life, it is important to make a decision, but weigh up what other people think or the advice you get. I think it's important as well just to think that when we talk about our values, when we have clear values about what's important to us, it makes our decisions so much easier. So how do I personally systemize my decisions to make it easier for me? So as I mentioned, I have ADHD. Sometimes it can be really tricky to stay on track. So I like to use habits. So I use a habit tracker. I've mentioned it before. It's called Fabulous. It's a tool that I absolutely love. And it just helps me to reduce all of the decisions around what do I need to do today? You know, what tasks do I need to do to stay on top of my workload and my home life? I use systems like Asana as a project management tool. It's free. It means that I can keep on top of things rather than trying to remember everything in my head and forgetting about people. Keeping a note of things, so actually keeping the right notes with the right things to help me if I need to make a decision quickly. I can quickly scan my notes and see, okay, I feel confident that I've got enough information here to make a decision based on what I already know. And then also evaluating and reflecting. So I'm really a huge fan of the agile or sprint methodology. I know that Tony Efiani's talked about that himself. And I would say that evaluation is such a big part of agile project management, because you end your sprint and then you look at what went well, what didn't go well, what could we improve on. But it means that you're able to clarify the areas that could be better and what you can do to improve on them. And what to do if you're not performing. As I mentioned, tiny micro habits can help you get back on track. So I do love the Fabulous tool, habit tracker. I would always recommend it if you want to get something to help you. I think it's important as well to learn, to upskill, to help yourself feel in a better place to make decisions. So I realized the other day that there's a bit of a knowledge gap for me in a particular marketing area in my business. So I love marketing. I've done digital marketing for a long time, but marketing is such a big concept. There's social work, nearly said social work. There is social media, there is the email marketing. There's so many different facets of marketing. And what I realized is actually I would like to look more at SEO and search engine optimization. So that's an area I'm trying to upskill myself on, because if I learn, then I'll be able to make better decisions. So sometimes we need to have the information to help us as well. And if it doesn't work, if you do mess up and you make the wrong decision, do give yourself grace, do adjust, give yourself time to reflect and fix it. I think it's important that we're honest when things haven't gone so well and try again. So that's all from me for today. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks so much to everyone who's commented and joined us live. Really appreciate you watching and joining in on the conversation. It's great having your support. And I guest present for Roadmap MBA every 2 weeks. So I should see you in a couple of Tuesdays. If you are interested in Roadmap MBA, go and check us out. You can get a free account and we'd love to hear what you think. Thank you so much for your time.